I recently did a poll to find out which game has the best story, and many people voted for Far Cry 3. I definitely agree with that because in this game, Ubisoft decided to do some experimenting and it definitely paid off. Far Cry 3 solidified its place in the action survival genre and stamped Far Cry as one of the biggest franchises Ubisoft has. One of the things that contributed to its success was, of course, the wonderful performance of Michael Mando as the antagonist Voss.
You see, the thing about our loved ones, right? Our fucking loved ones! They come and they blindside you every fucking time. So they say to me, they say, Voss, who the fuck is it going to be? Them or me? Me or them?
The psychopathic villain also charmed us by being very charismatic and menacing at the same time. Michael Mando, when he auditioned for this, he actually brought out his own performance in the gig and they actually changed the whole character to fit his personality that he came with. Michael Mando played his role really well. His unpredictable nature was a major talking point. You never knew what Voss would do next, which made encounters with him incredibly tense and memorable.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Voss's iconic lines and mannerism have become a staple of gaming culture, and his influence can be seen in many other games and media. That's why they decided to make him the face of the game, and players all over the world loved it. I'm not gonna do another history of Mando's Voss villain and how great he became. I'm just gonna mention those few things, those highlights, because this has been said so many times, so I'm just gonna spare you guys the time. But I will be going over how Ubisoft did things differently in this game from the previous installment, like how the protagonist is not someone with a military background and combat skills. Instead, we got an ordinary citizen who was just on a vacation with his family and friends, and they ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time. They did add someone with the military skills but killed him off in the beginning, and I think they did that on purpose to send a message to players that this game was going to be very different than the other two Far Cry games that I've played before. The shift from a pre-established combat-ready protagonist to a more vulnerable, inexperienced one like Jason Brody was a significant change. This change allowed for a deeper sense of player immersion and progression. The player, much like Jason, had to learn the skills necessary to survive the Rogue Islands, including how to use a bow, use arrows, use guns and other weapons, as well as how to navigate and understand the environment. This shift allowed for a compelling journey of self-discovery, forcing the player to adapt and evolve ways that were unique to the Far Cry series at the time. The game's story further explores the protagonist's transformation as he progressively adapts to violence, making him more ruthless as the game goes on, and allowing the player to see just how far a person is willing to go to save their loved ones. Another noticeable change, or a noticeable element that played an important role in the story, is the supporting characters. Characters like Dennis Rogers, a member of a rugged tribe who helps Jason adapt to the island's dangerous environments. He acts as a mentor, guide for Jason, who guides him through the island and to guide him through his new abilities and encourages him to embrace the Rakyat way. And also another character who's very much important to the story is the fierce Citra, who's none other than Voss's sister, who believes in resurrection of the island's ancient warriors. She plays a crucial role in Jason's transformation and tests his resolve between loyalty to his friends and his new path of becoming the warrior of Rakyat.
Jason, you're leaving so soon.
Dennis,
You're busy working with Citra?
Did anyone actually understand what Dennis meant in this scene? If you didn't, it's okay, because I also played, when I played it the first time, I didn't actually get it. I caught a few things, like Dennis mentioning his past, mention how he became a warrior or how he became a soldier, and the xenophobia he faced in the States when he actually moved into the States, and then he came to the island and how Citra actually saved him. I got that sense, but there's something else that Dennis actually mentioned, and the first thing we hear in Dennis is mentioning to Jason is that Jason is working with Citra, which is Dennis showing his jealous nature of Jason becoming close to Citra as he continues his journey. Why Dennis is jealous, let me tell you. I mean, you can hear him when he tells Jason he can have any woman he wants as he introduces him to the Rakyat tribe on Amanaki village. But he says his eyes is set on one woman. Of course, he's talking about Citra. He loves Citra. See, Dennis, unlike Jason, is a simp for Citra. And everyone knows what a simp is. I don't really have to actually explain that. And Citra is only interested in Jason because of his warrior spirit, and Dennis doesn't possess that kind of warrior spirit. I mean, even he knows. When Dennis introduces Jason to Citra, he says he found the one that won't fail, implying that he himself or someone else tried to go after Voss and they failed, so he believes Jason can succeed, or he's hoping that Jason will succeed. And I actually read somewhere that Voss and Dennis actually like had a battle not too long ago, which explain like the scars that they both have. Like Voss has this really big scar along on his left side of his head, and also like Dennis has a scar like in his forehead. So yeah, I kind of read somewhere that those scars came from their vicious battle when Dennis was hunting Voss and was trying to kill Voss for Citra, but he failed. And I'm sure he did that to win Citra's love and prove his loyalty, but it never happened. So now Jason comes in, he introduces to Citra, and then Jason becomes really good at becoming a warrior, and like it just gives Citra some promises that maybe this one can actually do it, and then Dennis becomes jealous.
Our lamb. Not one of us.
Well, then I will become a warrior.
Very funny. Please leave.
He took my brother.
Busted.
And I will do anything to get him back.
The complexity of these characters, like I mentioned all of this to show how these characters are so complex, and they really play their roles extremely well, and the narrative come together to form a great story for the player to experience. I can't go over all the characters' histories and the roles because there's so many characters in the story. I won't go over all of them because we'll just be here all day. I just highlighted like a few main source of characters that really play an important part in the story, but there's so much more characters in this game that play their role extremely well, and they're really like unforgettable in the game. Like you definitely remember them as you play the game. I mean, I can mention a whole bunch, but yeah, I'm not gonna go over all of. Just pointed the few main characters who really make the story and the narrative resonates with the player, making Far Cry 3 stand out as an unforgettable entry in the franchise.
Wow.
Yes, Citra saw the fire in you.
Far Cry 3 sets the standard of modern gaming with its storytelling and its complex story. This explains why Ubisoft only rinsed and repeated the layout of the story in the following entry. The developers often reiterated the same narrative structure and thematic elements, introducing new settings, characters, and antagonists, but frequently falling back on the tried and true elements that they proven popular with fans. This reliance on the familiar narrative framework, while commercially viable, can distract from the innovative spirit that characterized the original entry. While maintaining the successful storytelling is essential in gaming, the challenge remains for the developers to evolve their narrative while preserving what fans love. But I think Far Cry's story was also complex, like Far Cry 4 was very complex and presented this mysterious nature that Far Cry 3 didn't have. I mean, Far Cry did have some sort of like mystery within it, especially about the Rogue Island, but on the story itself, like the story was just straightforward. Jason is trying to rescue his family and friends and trying to escape the island, point blank and clear, but in Far Cry 4 we get this mystery of the protagonist AJ Gale trying to find out his true history. So it has that, even though it is kind of a rinse and repeat. Like the structure is the same, like the Far Cry 3 structure and the Far Cry 4, if you look at it, they're the same. You know, here we have Dennis, and in Far Cry 4 we have Sabal. Here we have Citra. In Far Cry 4 we have Amita. You know, it's a rinse and repeat. We got Voss, we got Pagan. But even though the structure remains the same, these are two different people with two different personalities. So yeah, they did use the same structure, but at the same time added totally new personality between the two. In Far Cry 3, we didn't care about Jason's history and why he's in this situation, but more about trying to survive and save his friends so he can escape the Rogue Islands. I think this is a small flaw in the design if you care about the character's development of Jason, especially when you compare him to AJ.
What is it, Jason? Jason, what is it? Why aren't you laughing now like you did up there? What, is this not fun anymore? Have I failed to entertain you?
Jason is very motivated to kill Voss. It's point blank and clear. Like, he kidnapped his friends, killed his brother. It's clear, like everything is just there. So it was, if you actually compare the two stories together about Jason and AJ, so you kind of want to think, you know what, there's probably a flaw in between, because this one has this sort of mystery in between, and this one just doesn't. It's just straightforward. But if you compare the two, yeah, you might think there's a small flaw. But for me, the story was good as it is, and players actually liked that it was just straightforward and they didn't make it too complex. And yeah, man, there you have it for my take on why I think Far Cry 3 had a very successful story and how it impacted the whole gaming community. I mean, the game was straight awesome, and the only thing I actually talked about here was the story itself. You know, I didn't go over the other gaming, because if you take, like, the gaming also like really changed a whole lot of stuff, especially from Far Cry 3, and then they move forward with the other stuff. It really changed and shaped the landscape in so many ways. So it's not only the story that actually made this game very successful, but it's other things that played its part as well, and the story was just one of them. You can let me know in the comments if you guys want to add, you know, something else that I actually missed in the video, because this video was extremely quick. And yeah, this is just my take, so you guys can just let me know if I missed some of the things. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and for me, Max, and Screen TV Magic,